How's it going, guys? Matt and Nickey here. So we got another 5th gen on the dyno. Just about to tune this thing up, just got it strapped down. So today we got a 2014 automatic car, but we did an LS3 conversion on this car. So we took all the DOD and VVT equipment off of it and converted all that stuff to LS3. So valley plate, timing cover, and then we went ahead and did our stage 1 LS3 cam in it while we were in there, with our other, the rest of the valve chain components to go along with that. So lifters, push rods, trunnion kit, valve springs, fast intake. You can see there, but stock throttle body. So that'll probably hold us up just a smidge, but this car might get a supercharger eventually someday, so we'll probably revisit the throttle body at that point. Cylinder heads are not ported. We did have them off and had them cleaned up, had them decked, but the ports are stock. Headers, obviously. This car we did do an engine out service on because it's a higher mileage car. It's got 94,000 miles on it, and being an automatic with getting into the LS3 cams, we like doing converters. So you kind of got to do a converter, or else it gets really hard to drive in traffic. You're just up against a converter at a stock 6L90 converter, or 6L80 converter in one of these is a little tight to have any sort of idle, 750, 800 RPM, and it's just real hard in traffic to keep them settled. So they want to kind of push through the brakes, and as you're creeping in traffic, like in a traffic jam, the thing's chopping back and forth, and we do converters in them. It just makes them drive so much nicer. So it got a Yank 2800 stall, so we kind of dropped the whole engine trans out as works, tore the engine down to the short block. It got an oil pump. We checked everything over, checked cam bearings, basically we kind of went over it. It looked pretty decent in there for the mileage. So yeah, Roto-Fab, fast, unported, just cleaned up heads. They did get a valve job. We sent them off to our cylinder head guy and kind of did everything but port them. So they did get a valve job. Obviously they got springs, new seals, decked. I'm kind of trying to work top to bottom so I don't forget anything. Yeah, our stage 1 cam, obviously we replaced the lifters and the trays and LS3 components. Stock balancer, 160 degree thermostat, put a Tracy Lewis catch can on it. So yeah, I did a little bit of porting on the throttle body. The 14s and 15s have a pretty nice throttle body. They have a real nice sharp edge on them. There's a little bit of work you can do to them. I don't like hogging the stock throttle bodies out all the way. There's kind of like a little airflow wing in there that helps kind of keep the throttle settled at low throttle positions. Otherwise the throttles get overly jumpy in my opinion. So you really, at that point, I'm a believer in just a bigger throttle body. So we'll probably see a little bit of a restriction on that, but it's not going to make or break this deal. But this car is just pump gas. There's no flex fuel in this car at all. So obviously we change the rails when we do the fast intake. We just use Holley's Sniper rails. They're affordable and they look nice and they work. So don't think I'm forgetting anything else. The headers are obviously come with a 3-inch X pipe, so we welded that. We got that joined on to. He did have a Flowmaster catback on it, some of those real small Flowmaster. You probably won't be able to see them, but those little tiny Flowmaster bullet mufflers are like little Series 10s or whatever they are. So I'll just fire it up so you guys can hear the cam. I just got a bass tune in it for now, so I can kind of drive it around, move it around the shop. But I'm pretty close on the idle. It's got a pretty good sound at idle, honestly. I'm not a huge Flowmaster guy, but it's got a pretty tough idle to it for sure with this. It's loud though. So yeah, nice car. I like the white orange stripe combination, and it's got these kind of smoked wheels on it, smoke color, kind of brushed aluminum wheels. So I think that's everything. I don't think I'm missing anything. So we're gonna get this thing spun up a couple times. I'll get I've done so many of these, I kind of know where I need to be on it, so I don't need to do 15 pulls on this thing. I think I'll probably get it dialed in 4 or 5 pulls. So I'll just video, you know, maybe so you guys can hear the exhaust ripping, and then do the final, and we can look at some numbers, compare the baseline that I did. I did a baseline on it before we did anything. We always do that because ultimately we're after the gain. We don't really race dynos. So this being an automatic car, obviously it's going to read a little bit less than maybe some of the other videos on my channel with stage 1 LS3 stuff. Obviously manual transmissions will dyno a little higher just by the nature of the trans, and you're in a 1-to-1 ratio locked, you know, input to output shafts. Where the 6L80s, I'm doing 4th gear pulls, and 4th gear is like 115. So you got a loss. I'm locking the door converter obviously, but you still got a loss through pumping losses of pumping that transmission fluid, plus 4th gear is that 115 ratio. So it's not a 1-to-1. So they don't read quite as high. It's just not going to dyno quite as high as an LS3 manual car. So I'll set the camera down, get this thing spun up a couple times, and then we'll take a look at final pull, and we'll look at a data log, and we'll look at a comparison to the baseline and see what we gained. Looks like it's pretty strong for an LS3 conversion. So looking like 460 and yeah, upper 420s for the torque. So I'm just showing the last couple runs I did. That pull, yeah, coolant temp was like in the 180s, so that other run that was like in the 170s was a little cooler, but I adjusted the fueling. I got the fueling dialed in pretty close on the first couple pulls that I'm showing here. And then I started playing with timing, so you can see I added a little bit of timing, kind of got the timing curve kind of smoothed out up top, and then took it out to the rev limiter. So I got that in at 69. Looks like I could bump that up a little bit, but you can see it's starting to fall off at the top there a little bit. So you know, that's the 6,500 RPM line. So it's carrying power pretty good. That's the benefit of having that fast intake on there. Is you can see how it kind of holds power up out on top. So yeah, that's looking pretty nice. So we can take a look at the. I'll close these off. We'll take a look at. I should have a good baseline here. That one was. Sometimes my RPM pickup doesn't pick up stuff correctly, and I got to kind of play with the settings. All right, there's a baseline, and we'll look at that final run. So obviously, you can see with any bigger camshaft over stock, especially these VVT cars where the VVT makes a lot of bottom end. You can see there's a little bit of loss down here. That's typical. So that's below 3,000 RPM, which. With a camshaft, sure, but look at the gains up top. That's what we're really after. So yeah, that's a massive difference. Massive difference in what he's going to feel when he drives this thing. It's going to be a huge difference. And with the converter in it, obviously you whack the throttle, rolling onto it, the converter's going to unlock, or if you're coming off from a stop, it's unlocked, and you're going to be right up into this range instantly, right where the power starts to pour it on. So there's always a trade-off with a cam, and I'll show that in these videos. I'm not going to show that we don't lose a little bit on the bottom. That's just part of doing a camshaft. So unless you bump the compression way up, and do different fuels and stuff like that. But again, this thing's just on pump gas, so no E85, nothing like that, just straight up 93 octane. So we can take a look at the log real quick. Sometimes I get carried away on these things, I know, but so this car, as most of the time when you LS3 swap these L99s, they like timing. They like a lot more timing than LS3, and I think that's just a little bit lower compression. So you can see here at the top, I'm tailing timing up, actually up 28 near the top, just to try to help carry power out later. And this thing was liking it a little bit richer. That fast intake, you kind of get a little bit of a porpoising of the air-fuel ratio, and so you can kind of see that yellow line down there. Sorry, I got the camera on it. It's kind of wavering around 0.87, then 0.85, and then 0.87 towards the end, and you can see it here in the mid-range, and you can kind of chase that around, but it's just the way that the fast intake, as it kind of the pulses of that more efficient intake manifold ebb and flow inside there as the engine's winding up. So yeah, guys, this is looking pretty good. There's a little nick and knock right there. And I actually had more timing there at one point, and I wasn't getting any knocks, so that might just be a little bit of header knock. Sometimes the headers, and this thing is loud. With these Flowmaster mufflers, it is loud. It's like ear piercing. So I'm not going to really worry about that. The rest of this looks pretty good. And you can see, you know, we talked about this before, putting a throttle body in it would help. You can see that my map is dropping off, so that's where having the big throttle body on that fast intake helps. You can see we're dropping off quite a bit. So when I first hit the throttle, we're at 95 kPa. So that's down way at the bottom, so that's about what we're reading today on that map sensor. But you can see towards the end, I'm at 92 kPa. So there's a 3 kPa vacuum being drawn, you know, and it's even dropping lower than that. I'm seeing 90, I saw 91.6 there, 91.1. So yeah, we're losing 4 kPa in that intake. 90 point, that's even more than that, 90.2. Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a half a pound of boost. You can kind of look at it. So that throttle body would be worse in power for sure. Taking a look at that, and maybe in the future we'll do that. But this car might get a supercharger in the future, so that's kind of why we did this throttle body right now. But yeah, this rest is looking good. This will wrap it up for this LS3 conversion on an L99, and we'll keep pumping stuff out here at the shop, getting it on the dyno, and making these videos for you guys. So thanks for watching this one, and we'll talk to you guys later.